Story 1. Am I the a-hole for not declining or signing over my portion of my ex-BF's life insurance payout to his mom? I recently learned that my ex-boyfriend passed away from cancer in March. His mom called me last week to inform me of his passing and to let me know that she and I are listed as beneficiaries on his life insurance policy from his employer. She immediately told me that she didn't know why he never changed it, but suggested that I could decline or sign the check over to her once I receive it. I was instantly in shock. He's gone? And he left me as a beneficiary? Why? I went back and forth, wondering if this was on purpose or accidental. It had been approximately 6 years since we mutually and civilly split up. I was informed that he had a new girlfriend who lived with him, and she has 2 kids from a previous relationship, which complicates things further. Is there a reason she was never added as a beneficiary? Was this all just a big mistake? Today marks 1 week since I found out, and it has been very hard, especially since his mom has been terrorizing me all week, trying to get me to agree to give her the money. She has said the most hurtful things and has sent me the most disrespectful photos and videos of her son in his last moments. As of right now, I haven't even contacted the insurance company. I have no idea how much this is, or if I need a lawyer's help at this point. Well, today I woke up knowing 100% that I am keeping this money, and I am not going to feel bad at all for using it to help my family with the gift my ex left for me. Unfortunately, part of me still wonders if it's the right thing to do by my ex, and if these were his wishes in the end. A little info to add. My home burned to the ground 3 years ago, on July 20th, and on October 1st, 2 years ago. My mom passed away from cancer as well. It has been a long, hard few years, and this money would literally allow me to buy a new bra for the first time in 3 years. My little clan could really use this money, and I think my ex knew that. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for abandoning my parents on an island in the Caribbean so I could get back to our cruise in time? I graduated from high school back in December. As a gift, my parents got me a cruise. It was also for my 18th birthday and a family vacation. We usually stay at all-inclusive resorts, but I have always wanted to go on a cruise. I told my parents it was different and that if we went on excursions, we had to follow the schedule no matter what. Well, it was a week-long cruise, and they would not head back to the ship when I said it was time to go. They were busy shopping and bargaining with the locals. I finally said that I was heading back to the ship. My mom waved me off. They missed the departure by a lot, like 45 minutes. They got a hold of me through WhatsApp. They wanted to know why I didn't get the boat to wait for them. I wanted to scream that they were not going to inconvenience 3,098 people because 2 could not understand what a schedule was. They ended up having to fly to the next port from there, and it was expensive. They are pissed at me for leaving them behind. I don't know what I was supposed to do. They literally told me that they knew what they were doing. I wish I had never asked for this. They are making me miserable because I left without them. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepdaughter she can have her dead dad pay for the wedding? My now wife divorced her ex when her 3 kids were young. He was an addict. She met me a few years later, and we dated for 2 years before she introduced me to her kids. 2 kids really hit it off, but Kelly did not like me. Just passive-aggressive stuff, but it became much worse when her dad passed away. She did not take it well, resulting in a lot of outbursts. I wasn't living there at the time. She went into therapy, but overall didn't seem like it helped. She threatened to run away if I married their mom. So I stayed away, but continued to date their mom. Over time, the 2 other kids started to stay at my place to get away from the drama. It was a rough time for them, and we bonded even more. When Kelly was 18, the 2 of us decided to stop putting our life on hold and get married. Kelly hated this. The other kids were happy, though. Every interaction I have had with her has been unpleasant, and I do not see her as one of my kids. I eventually adopted her siblings when they were 16 and 17. They asked me. During that time, she destroyed a lot of her siblings' stuff for betraying their dad. Now I rarely see her, and I prefer it that way. The 2 kids have an on and off relationship. I paid for my 2 kids' weddings. I got a call from her asking me to pay for her wedding since I paid for the other 2. I told her no. This started an argument about how it's unfair. I had enough and told her to have her dad pay for the wedding. She hung up after some lovely names. I may have gone too far. Story 4. Am I the a-hole for starting a fight over groceries? My husband and I are from entirely different cultures. His family has always been overbearing, especially his mother. He has always helped them out financially or with food. He has 6 siblings, and his parents were always struggling. This was fine until he was laid off from his good-paying tech job, and we had to start budgeting. He still gives his family money to the point that I opened a non-joint checking account and have my checks directly deposited there to make sure bills are paid. I came home early from work, and his mom was going through our freezer and filling up bags of food for herself and her adult children who still live at home. I freaked out on his mom, who has always been a homemaker, and told her to get a job and stop stealing our food. My husband, her and I got into this huge screaming match after I spoke to his mother about how I'm not supporting an able-bodied adult who can get a job and that they need to assimilate into our culture now that his family lives here, because food is way too expensive for her to shop from my fridge. This escalated to me being called names, insensitive, and worse. I packed 2 suitcases in front of his mother and am staying with my family. I do not care if an eviction is on my credit report, and I'm no longer helping out him or his freeloading family. I have had lots of slurs thrown at me over the last few days when my husband has tried to talk to me about our debts, and I told him he could sue me, but I know right now he cannot afford the place we live in, the utilities, or even food, so I really don't care about him or his freeloading family right now. Story 5. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad's wife she's not included in any pre-wedding activities because her one-sided contest with my mom is pathetic? My parents got divorced when my siblings and I were in middle school, high school. We're now in our 20s. Dad got married 2 years after the divorce. He met his wife and married her in 6 months because she was planning to move back to her home state and he didn't want to do the long-distance thing. So we didn't really know her when he told us they had eloped in Vegas. She, however, thought we were all super close and was really disappointed when our reactions were pretty muted to their news. This started her off being jealous of my mom. She was jealous of the closeness we had with mom. Then she was jealous of the fact we got along so well with our mom's partner and were still close, even though mom and he never got married. Dad's wife started showing up all glam to school functions and football games that we were involved in. She looked like she was attending a wedding or a red carpet, and she'd make snarky comments about dressing up to support her kids while looking right at my mom. She would throw us these lavish birthday parties and invite both sides of our family and then attempt to dress us in matching outfits, the birthday kid and her. It always made her twitchy when we didn't want to dress like her. When my twin siblings turned 16 and my sister and mom had matching necklaces, my dad's wife actually went home to change and wore the same color dress as my sister. She talks like mom is somehow less than her because she's not remarried. She gloats that she has a ring on her finger and that she shares the same last name as us, the kids. Just all kinds of petty things. She's someone we tolerate but don't like, and if we could exclude her from our lives without losing our dad, we would. I'm getting married, and so is one of my brothers, the twin. My dad's wife has not been invited to any fittings, tastings, viewings, etc. by either my fiancé and I or my brother and his fiancé. But mom has been invited to stuff on both sides, and my dad's wife was so upset by it. She asked my brother about being invited to something first, and he said, "No, just no, nothing else." And she pestered him for a while before moving on to me. She broke down over it and said she can't understand not being included in pre-wedding activities. I told her she's not included because her one-sided contest with my mom is pathetic and none of us want to deal with that. She said it was such a mean thing to say, and all she's ever tried to do is earn that spot as our mom, but we treat our mom's partner, who isn't even our stepdad, like he's more important than her. She was crying harder while saying all this. Story 6. Am I the a-hole for reminding my friend that she married for intelligence and look where it got her? I, 35F, met my husband Vince, 36M, after he saved me from drowning at a pool party when I was 18. I took him out for lunch the following week to thank him for saving me, and we soon fell in love and began dating. At the time, Vince worked a blue-collar job while I was studying in university. We ended up getting married, and Vince supported me throughout my entire education up until I got my PhD. Vince always told me that he wanted to study in university, but had learning disabilities that made it difficult for him to study in a classroom. At times, he was embarrassed by the fact that he had to work twice as hard compared to people around him, but I always found that to be admirable about him. When I finished my studies and got a well-paying job, I convinced Vince to give his dream of studying another go. Last year, he was finally accepted into a nursing program at our local university. He is working hard to achieve his dream, and I'm incredibly proud of him. Last week, my friend Alba, 36F, came to visit with her son so our children could play together. Alba was my roommate during my first year in university. She began dating her husband Leo around the same time I started dating Vince. Leo was an obnoxious law student who later on became an even more obnoxious attorney. He was a know-it-all who prided himself on his intelligence, which for some reason attracted Alba. At the time, Alba would sometimes tease me that I could do better than Vince and would offer to set me up with one of Leo's law school buddies, but I would always refuse, and she eventually dropped the subject. Alba and Leo are currently going through a nasty divorce that stems from him cheating on her. Quite frankly, he is dragging her through the mud and is using connections to try and leave her as penniless as possible. As we were chatting and catching up, Alba began to express concern over the fact that my eldest son, 7M, was recently diagnosed with dyslexia. Alba began telling me how she is worried that my son will be academically challenged like his father and what that could entail for his future. Before I could respond, she told me how I should have married someone smart while I had the chance, so I would have kids like hers. Alba's son is an incredibly bright boy and a straight A student. I told Alba her advice was unnecessary and reminded her where marrying for intelligence got her. I then proceeded to tell her that I would rather have my son grow up to be an honest, hard-working person like his father than an academically gifted jerk who wasn't smart enough to know sleeping with his secretary could have consequences on his marriage like her husband. Alba was deeply hurt by what I said and stormed out with her son. Some mutual friends are now chiming in and are telling me that I was too harsh on Alba for using her failing marriage to prove my point and should apologize. Small update. First of all, I want to thank you all for your replies. I wanted to address a couple of things. Many of you asked why Alba and I remained friends despite her previous remarks. Alba and I grew apart during our third year in university. We only remained friends by association since we have a lot of shared mutual friends. We became close again after our sons started playing basketball together at the local community center and became friends. I figured that becoming a mother made her more mature, and she didn't give me any reason to suspect otherwise. I've decided to send her a message saying that the way she spoke about my husband and son was unacceptable, and therefore, she is no longer welcome in my home. However, I don't want our sons to lose their friendship, and therefore, I'm willing to remain civil around the kids and still organize playdates. She hasn't replied to me just yet, but I truly hope she loves her son enough to put her ego aside and remain civil for the sake of our kids. Story 7. Am I the a-hole for telling my cousin that she is no longer allowed to be a bridesmaid in my wedding because she wants to bring her boyfriend, who is my ex, and I don't want him there? My cousin is currently dating my ex, with whom I ended things amicably. Although I no longer have feelings for him, I do not want him at my wedding, a day that holds significant importance for me. I do not want him there, potentially overshadowing the happiness of the occasion. Additionally, their relationship is still quite new, and I worry that if they break up, my cousin will be glad that he is not in any of the photos. When my cousin brought up the issue of bringing her boyfriend as a +1, I told her that she could not bring him. She became upset and tried to argue her case. Feeling frustrated, I finally told her that if she insisted on bringing him, then I would prefer she not attend the wedding. Now she is angry with me. I understand where my cousin is coming from, but I feel that she is not considering my feelings and the feelings of my own partner, whom I also have to consider when planning the wedding. Am I in the wrong for standing my ground on this issue? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. We'd love to hear from you, so leave a comment with any story topics you'd like to see next. Your feedback helps us create the content you love. See you in the next video.